What if the masterpieces of Leonardo da Vinci were not merely works of art, but encrypted messages, secrets encoded in brushstrokes, hidden truths veiled in beauty, clues left behind by a man far ahead of his time, perhaps even outside of it? For centuries, the world has marveled at the genius of Leonardo da Vinci, a painter, inventor, anatomist, and philosopher. Yes, but what if he was also something else? A mystic, a guardian of forbidden knowledge, a silent rebel who chose the canvas as his confessional, hiding cosmic truths in plain sight. From the haunting smile of the Mona Lisa to the cryptic geometry of the Last Supper, Da Vinci's creations pulse with symbols that defy conventional understanding. They speak a silent language, a visual cipher drawn from Hermetic teachings, alchemical secrets, and the esoteric traditions of ancient mystery schools. And yet most of us pass them by, unaware. Museums call them Renaissance brilliance. Art critics label them mastery of form and light. But few dare to ask, what was Leonardo really trying to say? Was he merely depicting reality, or was he attempting to pierce the veil that hides it? Why did he write in his journals as if hiding messages from the uninitiated? Why do so many of his anatomical sketches eerily align with ancient Egyptian and Hermetic diagrams of the human soul? And why, above all, does he seem obsessed with balance, duality, and the sacred proportions of man and universe? In this episode of Unlocking the Mysteries, we journey deep into the codes of Da Vinci. Not just the ones popularized by fiction, but the real codes, the ones embedded in sacred geometry, cosmic archetypes, and ancient wisdom. This is not about cracking a puzzle. It's about awakening to a truth Da Vinci buried in beauty, a message intended not for his time, but for ours. A message about who we really are and what we are destined to remember. To truly understand the codes woven into Leonardo da Vinci's art, we must first understand the world he lived in and the worlds he reached beyond. Leonardo was born in 1452 at the dawn of the Italian Renaissance, but he was no ordinary Renaissance man. While his peers studied Aristotle and painted saints, Leonardo wandered the margins, fascinated by the mechanics of the cosmos, the divine blueprint of the body, and the mystical unity of all things. What made him different? He wasn't formally educated. He didn't attend the universities or theological schools of his time. Yet, mysteriously, his notebooks show an uncanny familiarity with ancient teachings, ideas found not in the classrooms of Florence, but in the lost libraries of Alexandria, the Hermetic temples of Egypt, and the hidden manuscripts whispered through secret societies. Leonardo devoured texts like the Corpus Hermeticum, a collection of esoteric writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the mythic sage who united Egyptian, Greek, and alchemical traditions. These texts spoke of a divine order behind the visible world, a truth that could only be accessed through inner transformation and sacred knowledge, not religion. Not blind belief, but direct gnosis, inner knowing. You see, Leonardo didn't just seek to depict the world, he sought to decode it. He believed that nature was a living scripture, a sacred book written by the divine mind. Every tree branch, every ripple in water, every proportion of the human form was a reflection of deeper spiritual laws, laws that could be unveiled through observation, geometry, and vision. This vision aligned him more with mystics than with academics. His Vitruvian Man, that famous drawing of the human body inscribed in a circle and square, isn't just a study of anatomy. It's a visual embodiment of the Hermetic axiom. As above, so below. Man as the microcosm of the universe, a being of flesh and spirit, suspended between earth and heaven. But during Leonardo's lifetime, these ideas were dangerous. Europe was ruled not just by kings, but by a church determined to define truth, to question official doctrine, let alone suggest hidden wisdom within the body or cosmos. was to risk censorship, excommunication, even execution. So Leonardo did what any mystic under surveillance would do. He hid his revelations in plain sight, in sketches, in symbols, in layers of paint so rich, scholars would spend centuries arguing over their meaning. Was he protecting himself, or was he encoding messages for future seekers? Those of us alive now, in an age ready to receive what the past was forced to conceal? And here lies the great paradox. The man known as a painter may have been far more, a silent initiate in the lineage of Hermetic philosophers, a carrier of ancient memory, a whisperer of truths too bright for his own time. To understand Da Vinci, then, is not to ask what he painted, but why he painted, why he chose certain symbols, certain proportions, certain themes. Why, for instance, is Mary Magdalene portrayed not as a mere follower, but as a central, almost divine figure in the Last Supper? Why do we find reflections of sacred geometry in nearly every brushstroke? Why does he seem obsessed with light, shadow, and mirror dualities? Because Leonardo knew what the ancient sages knew. Truth hides in symbols, and symbols speak across time. And if we look closely beneath the surface, we might just hear what he was trying to tell us. Imagine standing before the Last Supper in silence. The apostles sit in animated conversation. Jesus sits at the center, calm and almost geometric in posture. But then, something feels off. Where is the Holy Grail? Why does the figure to Jesus' right, long flowing hair, delicate features, feminine posture, look less like John the Beloved and more like a woman? For centuries, viewers assumed it was the Apostle John. But Leonardo, a master of symmetry and symbolism, didn't make mistakes. Every gesture, every hand position, every fold in the garments was deliberate. Now observe more closely. The bodies of Jesus and the figure beside him form a distinct V, the ancient symbol of the sacred feminine, the womb, the vessel. In esoteric tradition, this shape is not just geometry, it's divine code. Could Leonardo have been suggesting that Mary Magdalene, long dismissed by the church as a reformed sinner, was actually something far more powerful? Many believe he was. This interpretation, echoed in the Gospel of Mary, the Nag Hammadi texts, and Gnostic writings long buried by the church, points to a suppressed truth. Mary Magdalene as the companion, perhaps even the wife, of Jesus. Not merely a disciple, but a keeper of the divine feminine, and perhaps the true Grail. But Leonardo didn't stop there. Look at the Mona Lisa. Her smile, enigmatic, almost unsettling. Her gaze, calm, yet knowing. For centuries, art historians puzzled over her identity. Was she Lisa Gherardini, a Florentine noblewoman? Or was she something more symbolic? Now observe the landscape behind her. It is surreal. Rivers seem to bend impossibly. Distant mountains appear dreamlike. Mist hovers like a veil. The left and right sides of the background do not match. They are deliberately asymmetrical, like a dream seen through two different lenses. Mona Lisa's face sits perfectly balanced between these two worlds, a human being poised between dualities, male and female, light and dark, earth and ether. In esoteric circles, Mona Lisa is believed to represent the alchemical androgynous being, the perfected soul who has unified both masculine and feminine within, the Hermetic ideal of spiritual wholeness. The smile? It's the smile of one who has seen through the illusion of opposites. Leonardo, steeped in alchemical philosophy, used this technique of hidden balance throughout his work. His notebooks show mirrored writing, text only legible when held up to a mirror. This was no accident. Mirrors were sacred tools to the Hermetics, representing inner reflection, reversal of illusion, and access to hidden realms. Even his anatomical studies, brilliantly accurate centuries ahead of modern science, reveal more than just biology. The curvature of the spine, the chambers of the heart, the shape of the brain, all follow sacred geometrical ratios. the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, ancient codes found in sunflowers, seashells, and the temples of Luxor. In these patterns, Leonardo saw the divine blueprint. He wasn't just painting portraits. He was painting maps to consciousness, portals to awakening. Let's not forget the Vitruvian Man. Often reduced to a study of human proportions, it is, in truth, a cosmic diagram. The square represents matter, the circle, spirit. The man, arms and legs outstretched, bridges both. He is the alchemical bridge between heaven and earth. To the trained eye, it is a visual spell, a glyph of transformation. So the question is no longer if Da Vinci hid messages in his art. The question is, who was he hiding them for? The answer lies in the very structure of how he encoded these truths. He understood something modern science is only now beginning to rediscover, that the human mind responds to symbols at a subconscious level. Archetypes bypass logic. They speak directly to the soul. By embedding sacred geometry, alchemical dualities, and mystical figures into his works, Leonardo planted living seeds, symbols that would awaken in the minds of future seekers. And indeed, they are awakening now. We live in an era of revelation. Ancient texts once suppressed are resurfacing. Lost teachings once whispered in shadows are being rediscovered. And the works of Leonardo da Vinci, once thought to be genius art alone, are now recognized as esoteric blueprints for inner evolution. But we've only scratched the surface. In the next section, we'll go deeper into Leonardo's fascination with hidden chambers, secret societies, and the whispers that he may have been initiated into an ancient lineage of mystical knowledge. And we'll ask the question, did Da Vinci know a truth so powerful it had to be hidden behind paint, code, and silence? Stay with me. Leonardo da Vinci was more than a painter, more than an inventor. He was what the ancient initiates would call a seer between worlds. To understand how deeply encoded his works are, we must follow the trail beyond the canvas, into secret orders, lost wisdom, and a hidden war over spiritual truth. Let us begin with a name rarely spoken in art classrooms, the Priory of Sion. Mentioned in ancient documents such as the dossier secrets uncovered in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, the Priory is said to be an ancient secret society tasked with guarding a sacred bloodline, the bloodline of Christ and Mary Magdalene. Some researchers and esoteric scholars believe Leonardo da Vinci was not only aware of this bloodline, but was appointed as the Grand Master of the Priory of Sion in the late 15th century. What if Leonardo's paintings weren't just masterpieces, but veiled declarations of heretical truth? What if the Last Supper, Mona Lisa, and Saint John the Baptist were visual riddles designed to preserve a story too dangerous to speak aloud? Take Saint John the Baptist, Leonardo's final painting. The figure is androgynous, smiling with the same knowing curve as Mona Lisa. He points upward with his right hand toward a hidden realm above. This is not the rugged, desert-dwelling prophet of biblical tales. This John exudes an otherworldly elegance, more angel than man. In esoteric symbolism, this gesture, the upward-pointing finger, represents the path of spiritual ascent, the axis mundi, connecting earth and the heavens. It is the Hermetic dictum, as above, so below. But here's where it deepens. Leonardo's notebooks contain diagrams that eerily resemble the Tree of Life in Kabbalah, an ancient mystical system mapping the soul's journey through the divine spheres. Each sphere represents a stage of awakening, and at the center of that tree is Tifereth, beauty, believed to be the realm where the divine and the human meet. Could it be that Leonardo saw beauty, not as aesthetics, but as a bridge to transcendence? His fascination with light and shadow, the technique of chiaroscuro, wasn't just stylistic. It was alchemical. Darkness and light, male and female, reason and intuition, always opposing, always merging. For Leonardo, illumination didn't come from painting what he saw. It came from revealing what lay behind the veil. And then there's the mystery of the mirror script. Leonardo famously wrote his journals backwards, in script readable only through a mirror. While some claim this was to protect his ideas from theft, deeper sources suggest another reason. It was a rite of concealment, a nod to the Hermetic axiom. Truth is hidden in plain sight, visible only to those with eyes to see. To the initiated, a mirror is not merely a reflective surface. It is a portal, a symbol of inner work. When one looks into a mirror, they see not the world, but themselves. To decode Leonardo's writing was to take part in a mystical act, self-reflection as the path to revelation. His obsession with the mechanics of flight, the anatomy of the heart, the motion of water. These weren't just scientific curiosities. They were acts of sacred observation. Water, for example, he called the driving force of all nature. In Hermeticism, water is symbolic of the unconscious, the great sea of divine potential. His detailed sketches of whirlpools and wave dynamics weren't just physics. They were meditations on the flow of spirit. And what of the church? Leonardo lived during a time when questioning doctrine could lead to exile, or worse. Yet his works dance on the edge of heresy, cloaked in beauty so profound that few dared accuse him. Many believe he left behind a trail of spiritual breadcrumbs, knowing that one day, perhaps in an age like ours, humanity would awaken enough to read them. In fact, hidden in one of his paintings, beneath layers of varnish and time, a few letters were discovered, LV, his initials, tucked subtly into the eye of the Mona Lisa. Was it merely signature, or a symbol of the all-seeing eye of divine awareness? Others point to mathematical anomalies in the Last Supper. The proportions, the placement of hands and dishes, they follow complex ratios. Was it a coincidence? Or was Leonardo using sacred geometry to encode divine order? Even modern researchers like Dr. Sabrina Sforza Galizia, a Vatican scholar, have suggested that Leonardo embedded a cosmic prophecy within the Last Supper, hinting at a moment of global rebirth aligned with celestial cycles. Could it be that Leonardo foresaw a time when the veil would be lifted, when humanity would begin to remember the truths long buried beneath dogma, war, and forgetfulness? Perhaps that time is now. Next, in the final section, we'll weave together all the threads, symbols, secrets, and suppressed truths, and ask one final haunting question. What did Leonardo want us to become? We have wandered through shadows and symbols, through brushstrokes and cryptic notebooks. We've seen Leonardo da Vinci not merely as a genius of the Renaissance, but as a guardian of a deeper truth. A truth not written in church doctrines, not spoken from royal pulpits, but painted in silence, encoded in geometry, and whispered through light and shadow. Leonardo was not trying to teach us what to think. He was guiding us toward how to see the divine hidden in the mundane, to see the sacred feminine veiled beneath patriarchal myth, to see the spark of God not in heaven but within ourselves. His works do not demand belief. They invite contemplation. They challenge the intellect while beckoning the soul, and in doing so, they fulfill the core mission of all true mystics, to awaken the sleeping gods within us. So what was Leonardo really trying to say? That knowledge is not static. It's alive, fluid, evolving, like the spiral of the golden ratio he revered. That art is not just beauty, it's a portal, a sacred mirror, a vessel of initiation, and most importantly, that humanity's true divinity cannot be dictated by institutions or bound by dogma. It must be rediscovered by each of us from within. Look again at the Last Supper, at Mona Lisa, at St. John the Baptist, not as paintings, but as mystical keys. What will they unlock for you? Now we turn to you, the seeker. What do you see in Da Vinci's legacy? Have we overlooked something even deeper? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Share this journey with fellow seekers. And if you feel the call, subscribe and step with us into more hidden truths. This is Unlocking the Mysteries, and the revelations have only just begun.